We are so excited to kick off our new series, Evolve, where we are showcasing leaders and their approach to workforce innovation. First, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time. It's 60 in Pittsburgh. But can you please introduce yourself, kind of your background and your company?
Sure. Kim, first of all, thank you so much for having me. We appreciate the opportunity. My name is Kevin Miller. I serve as the CEO of LegalSifter. We're based here in Pittsburgh in the Strip District. And my background is I am a licensed attorney. I have an MBA, but I ran from the law very early. And I've spent 20 years being a part of and helping to lead global businesses. I got the opportunity to invest and become the leader of LegalSifter, which was a startup out of Carnegie Mellon and backed by Birchmere Ventures here in Pittsburgh. And what we do is we use artificial intelligence to and people and expertise to solve some of those persistent contract problems that we all experience in business and in our daily lives.
No, that's awesome. And I think it's super helpful. How has this pandemic affected you and the company? Has it affected your business model or your workforce in any way?
Yeah, I think there are three or four headlines for us. I mean, first we'll start with the positive. You know, our business did grow 60%, 60 in 2020. So we were very fortunate. I will say this, we had aspirations of growing beyond 60%, and we saw, a pretty significant impact to our pipeline and our sales in the back half of this year of 2020 versus say the first half of 2020 as a lot of organizations did. But we survived. And now, as we enter 2021, particularly since January, our business is just growing really, really fast again, like we saw in the 6 or 7 quarters leading up to the pandemic. So, we did have a divot. We think we're out of that divot now, and particularly given what we do now that buyers seem to be returning, our products and services look quite attractive because we help people do more with less. And in many cases, coming out of the pandemic, people have less in their organizations. And so the longer, this kind of goes on, solutions like ours tend to look more attractive. Bullet two is the impact on our real estate. So we're not a big company. We had just actually the first week of February invested in a great office in the Strip District in downtown Pittsburgh. It was the first week of February, and 1 month later, we were out of that office because of the pandemic. And it has sat vacant for us for a year, paying rent on that thing. We've had great landlord support, to be honest. And we'll get back there, but we had a flexible work style before. We had just moved to a 3 days in the office, optional 2 days out. So I'm a big fan of flexible work, and that was working for us. And that's what we actually kind of think that's what we will return to. Well, the last bullet was, as this has worn on, and I think a lot of businesses are figuring this out. Look, there are people who are just naturally oriented to working in an environment like this, and there are people who aren't. And you miss that glue. And I think when you're only looking at people 25% of the way up, you've missed the body language, you miss so much of that communication, and it has an impact. And I think some people are more susceptible to it than others, but I think all of us, crave some degree of contact with those people on a semi-regular basis just to keep things moving. So I've seen frustration, I've seen stress, I've seen miscommunications happen in our organization, a lot of times caused by me, simply because we're not in the same room. So those are our three bullets from my perspective.
No, it's funny. I was talking with Kit of Rustville earlier this week, and he mentioned a word that really resonated with me, and I think will make a lot of sense to what you just said. He used the word serendipity. And if you think of the normal environment, the only serendipity that we've actually been exposed to is Clubhouse. And I'm not sure if you've been on there yet, but what's amazing is, even when you go to a conference and, you're in these panels and you're in these large rooms, where you really get the most out of the conference is in the hallways.
Yeah.
The elevator, and sometimes even in the bathroom, right? Where you meet somebody and you end up, striking up this conversation. And for an entire year, serendipity disappeared. And with Clubhouse, you can now walk into a room and you can meet people and do that bump in that hasn't occurred in so long that I think we're all craving so much. So I'm not sure how long Clubhouse will keep the craze, but it's been a great definition of exactly what Kit said in Serendipity. And it sounds like that's exactly.
I agree. I think that's yes.
It was super fun. So have you had to adapt your business model in any way because of these circumstances?
Well, I don't think so. I think, we're not traveling. There's some obvious things. We're not traveling. We've had to invest in a few more pieces of technology to ensure information flows. I think the thing that we need to start doing that we really haven't done, we need to structure our work a little bit differently and how we make ourselves available. I read recently that particularly if you're a manager, you should think about office hours. That old professor concept. Set up your Zoom or whatever, WebEx or Teams, and say, look, I'm going to be on a couple days a week on this hour, and I'm just going to have my Zoom on. If you want to show up and talk to me, I'm available. I think those are adjustments those are things we've talked about, have not really executed on. It's something I want to try. But I do think permanently, these are experiments that all organizations should be testing, because I don't think anybody thinks we're going back the way we started.
Totally agree. And I actually love that. I wrote it down. That's a great idea. And I did read that a couple times and just different articles that were posted. It makes a lot of sense to me. So what does back to work look like for you?
We're going to be extremely conservative. I come from a safety background. I don't want to put anybody in jeopardy. One, when we feel like there's a lot of vaccines that have been put in arms out there. Yeah. Two, we'll come back in this kind of 3 and 2 kind of idea that we had before the pandemic: 3 days in, optional 2 days out. And I'm a big fan of letting people work from home on Fridays, because we all have to pick up our laundry and do other things that are outside the house.
Exactly.
They work really hard during the week, and they can take Friday afternoon off. Let them do it. So it's the second thing, we'll do that. And the third thing is we'll figure out a way to ease people back in based on their comfort level. Given that, we will find a middle ground to say, look, if you are truly uncomfortable, much like the schools have done, that you can opt out and stay at home somehow for some period of time, until we get to a point where we've got herd immunity. We know shots are going into arms, and we can stand on firmer ground, which feels like 2022. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm hoping it comes sooner, but you might be right. At least fall of this year, I think, is looking promising.
I think so.
I love the office hours concept. Do you have any other advice to office leaders that are they're trying to prepare, they're trying to evolve, they're trying to figure out what's next? Any other advice that you'd share with other people?
So many organizations have not had the opportunity or intentionally not embraced flexible work. Yeah. And I've been on the opposite side of that. I've been very fortunate to work much of the last 10 years in an environment where flexible work was encouraged. To a degree, in my last company, was software service and hardware and manufacturing. And I will tell you that that's something that has tremendous benefits. And if hopefully you're seeing those benefits in the pandemic, that would be bullet one: is embrace flexible work and make it part of your culture. The second thing I would say is you can go too far with it. I don't think this is it's an unlimited situation. Certainly people working out of a home office, it's a very intentional decision, but where you have a group of people in a city, I think there's a tremendous amount of value about bringing people into the office a couple days a week. It drives accountability, it drives collaboration, it drives serendipity, it drives good mental health, and I think there's something to be said for getting those folks together. So I think it's like most things in life, a balance between, quote, the old way, office driven only, and a balance between, quote, the new way, it's not that new, flexible work, is probably the right answer. Yeah, for most jobs, particularly those that look like ours. That's it.
Absolutely. Well, our goal with Evolve is to really help leaders to learn, connect, and grow together. And honestly, Kevin, I cannot thank you enough for taking time on this amazing day to give us your thoughts and ideas. And everybody, please follow us on social and stay tuned as we continue our video series Evolve. And Kevin, I can't wait till our next conversation. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim. Take care.